CO everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Cherokee Charles, and as you know, I'm the Cherokee that can see. Now, here's what I see now. We're going to continue talking about the economy because that's on everyone's mind. But I want to sort of dissect through the cloud and the mist that is being shown to us and focus more on a couple of things that are the most important things. Now, as you know, there's a lot going on in the world. There's no doubt about that. We have a war going on. We have inflation going on. We have people that are homeless. That's going on. There's so many things going on in the world. It's hard to know what to pay attention to. We have an election that is going on, and people are listening to all kinds of rhetoric from all kinds of people that want to get into politics and get in a public office. So I can understand everyone here trying to figure out, what should I focus on? What should I be looking at? And here's what I think. I think there are only three things that we really need to focus on at this particular time. One, food. How do you feed your family? That's number one. Number two, housing. Where are you going to live and how are you going to house your family? And finally, three, security. How are you going to protect yourself both financially and personally as we go through this world? Those are the three things. So let's start with the first one. And the first one is food. How are we going to feed our family knowing that prices for food are skyrocketing? Skyrocketing. And people are buying less and less and less because of prices going up. Prices are going up, as you know. When you go to the supermarket, I was in there the other day, and the main topic of conversation as people walked through the market is, I can't believe how expensive this stuff is. So they're cutting back. So here's the thing. The second thing that I mentioned besides food is shelter, housing. As you know, because we're in this economic downturn, housing prices are also skyrocketing. They have been skyrocketing, but the government is trying to do what it can to cool that down by raising interest rates. And we'll talk about why they're raising interest rates in a minute. And the last thing, security. How in the world are you going to keep your family and yourself financially secure in a market like this? Well, let's talk about something called misdirection. Misdirection. A lot of times magicians use this to do a magic trick. And here's the magic trick I'm talking about when I say misdirection. Suppose I were a government official and all of a sudden a disease got loose in the world that shut down the world's economies, shut down businesses, shut down corporations all over the world. And people started to get this disease at such a rate that it was out of control. And quickly, we had to find a way to fight this disease. And at the same time, we have to keep our economies going. We have to keep our markets healthy. How in the world are you going to do that if you are a world leader? Here's how you do it. So, as you know, COVID hit the world like a ton of bricks. So luckily, we're smart enough to figure out how to fight this disease. And we came up with a cure. We came up with medicine that helped us fight this disease. But the damage was already done because thousands of businesses closed, millions of people were out of work, and our markets were in a tailspin. So you got to ask yourself, there's only a certain amount of things that I can save. What's important as a government official? What's important to save? Should I save the people or should I save the markets? What's more important? Well, here's what is important. I'm going to save the market, but I'm going to make it look like I'm saving the people. And here's how I do that. I'm going to call up the Fed. I'm going to say, listen, we need to save the markets. So I want you to start printing money. And we're going to give it to the people to make them think that we're saving them, because in a backward sense of looking at things, we kind of are saving them. We're going to send these stimulus checks and we're going to offer loans to businesses to make them think we are trying to help them save their business. So we're going to print this money, send it out in stimulus checks. The people are going to get the money. They're going to keep spending. They're going to keep buying things, even though they're not working. And we're not producing anything. We're not providing any services. But they're going to have roughly the same amount of money to pay their bills. And but in actuality, who am I saving? Am I really saving the people, or am I really going after trying to save the markets? Now, as you know, back in early 2000s, we had another recession that we had to go through. And at that time, the markets, once again, because of history, the markets were in a tailspin. And many people believe that we don't want that to happen again. So if it does, we're going to try and do something to save the markets, because we don't want them to crash and cause all this financial headache for all the investors, okay? So fast forward to today, here we are in another recession. Not really caused by any one thing, but here we are in another recession because it was stimulated by COVID. And once again, the markets are in a tailspin. And here's what we're going to do. We printed this money. We sent it out to people. We offered loans to businesses and said to them, we're going to give you loans to help you save your business. But the qualifications are going to be really menial. You don't have to pay the money back. Same thing with the stimulus checks. We're going to send you this money. You don't have to pay the money back. And you can use that money to feed your family, taking care of the first thing on the list. How do you feed your family? And same thing for the businesses. How are you going to feed your business? So that's exactly what we did. We printed this money. We sent it out. We loaned out the money. No questions asked. You don't have to pay it back. We're ready to go. And people spent the money. Businesses took out the loans. And who knows what they did with the money. The people that took out the loans knew that they didn't have to pay this money back. It's free money. But as you know, what's free ain't exactly free. It's not. It ain't exactly free. And when you get a stimulus check in the mail, it ain't exactly free either. So because we did that, we flooded the market with all this money. Loans that were free, stimulus check money that was free, and we flooded the market with all this money. And as a result, any economist will tell you, you flooded the market with all this money, the value of that money went down and started to cause inflation. Now, as you know, inflation really started to heat up, okay? And what does the Fed and the government want to do? They want to control. We have to control inflation. So we don't want it to get too hot. We don't want it to go too fast. So we have to cool it off. Now, how do we cool things off? We raise interest rates. And as you know, I just heard yesterday that the Fed wants to raise interest rates again. They want to raise interest rates in June. And also they're thinking about raising interest rates again in July. Now, we just had the Fed raise interest rates in May, and see what the calamity, you can see the calamity that has caused just with that 0.5% interest rate hike. Things went crazy in the economy. And we haven't even yet seen what the effect of raising these interest rates has been on the economy. And we're already talking about raising it 2 more times before we even see what the effect is completely on what we've already done. So let's assume that in June we raise it again. I don't think you need to be a rocket scientist to figure out what's going to happen when you do that a second time before you even figure out what effect it has had so far. Probably the same thing that's happening now, but only worse. And if you do it a third time, even worse. Okay? So here's the point. Here's the point. The government spends money that it raises from tax revenue. As a citizen of the United States, you have a job and you go to work at that job and you are paid a salary to do it. And as part of the agreement, you are taxed by the federal government. And the federal government takes that tax money and they spend it to service the United States citizens in all the ways that you already know. Now, what happens when the government has spent all the money that they've collected and they still need to spend more? They need to get the money from someplace. And their someplace is the Federal Reserve. They tell them, we need some more money, so print some more money. But what happens when the Federal Reserve can't do that anymore? Well, the other source of getting money that the federal government has at their disposal as a tool is they raise taxes. Well, in an election year, there's nobody that wants to be crowned with that, saying that they're the ones that wanted to raise taxes. Nobody wants that title. So how do you raise taxes without it looking like you're raising taxes? Here's how you do it. You raise interest rates. You raise interest rates. You raise interest rates so high that people can't afford to do anything. They can't afford to go on vacation. They can't afford the homes. They can't afford to buy things anymore. It becomes increasingly and increasingly difficult for the average person to do anything. Now, if you're middle class or you're poor, you cut back. You cut back on everything. You stop spending. But you get hit with the brunt of all the price increases that have been going on. Now, if you're not poor or middle class and you're rich, you don't care. You don't care. Why don't you care? Because you're not being paid a salary. Your taxes are paid after you take your money out of your business. That's the difference. When you're an employee, you go to work, you get paid. Before you even see your paycheck, your taxes come out. If you're rich and you own a business, you run it, you pay yourself a salary, and then after that, you pay taxes on what's left over from your business. You're paying taxes to the government after you take your money out for yourself. Great deal. I wish everybody thought like that. Why don't they teach this in school? Why don't they educate every American on how to be financially educated? Well, they don't. And this is the reason why. Because it is economically to their benefit to keep a certain part of the population ignorant, so that they will believe everything that is told to them. Now, right now, we're being told that we're going to have a recession by banks. The government doesn't want to admit it yet, but it's coming. It's coming in 30 days, okay? It's coming. So banks are already admitting that there's going to be a recession. And people that are middle class and poor, they don't really care. All they know is things are bad, things are tough, I'm going to cut back. And people that are in the middle class and poor already know how to live. They already know how to cut back. They already know how to live poor because they've been through it. They've been through it. So the people that would be complaining will be the people that are upper middle class and the rich. They don't want to lose their money. They want to try and figure out how they can keep it. And that's what this is all about. How the upper middle class and the rich people can keep their money. And the middle class, which will take the brunt of this hit, and the poor people, you don't get to keep your money. All that money that we sent out to you, stimulus checks, and we gave away and for these loans, you're the ones that are going to pay the government back. And how are you going to pay the money back? You're going to pay it back in higher interest rates, okay? You're going to pay the money back in higher food prices, higher gas prices. That's how you're going to pay the money back. And all these corporations that are going to be raising prices on you, those are the ones that are going to be paying taxes back to the government, and you don't have a say in it. So pay attention to this. This is really, really important because there's a lot of things going on in the world, in the economy, and there's a lot of moving parts. And if you don't pay attention to these basic fundamentals, you're going to get chewed up, okay? So the fact that there's a war going on over here and there's a bad economy going on over there, and there's countries down here that are facing starvation, and there's countries over here that are facing housing problems, and there's supply chain problems, and all this stuff that's going on. I want you to just stay focused on a couple of fundamentals, and that is paying attention to how you're going to feed your family, how you're going to house your family, and security for your family. Pay attention to those three things, okay? And I'll see you in the next one.